Hi, I'm Rich and welcome to my first video in what will be a series of videos showing how I'm going to transform my garden from a building site to a fun, relaxing space for myself and family and friends to enjoy the spring and summer months in the UK. The main focus of the transformation will be a small pool and a patio area. If you're interested to see what's involved in building a pool in your garden, and you want to know what it really costs, then keep watching and we'll begin. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the costs of in-ground swimming pools, they are expensive, and for most of us they're a luxury that we can't afford. I'm going to attempt to build an in-ground heated pool on a relatively tight budget. I've already built a smaller pool in my last house for around £5,000. I didn't take many pictures, but it was a few years ago. I've since moved house, and we loved our last pool, so we're going to build it again. This one is going to be bigger and better, so the budget is going to be a little more. I'll be documenting this one in a bit more detail so that you can see what's involved. I'll be doing most of the work myself, but I may pay some companies to do some of the heavy lifting for me. And finally, I just want to clarify that this is a in-ground pool. There's lots of different types of pool around. The pool that I'll be building will be an in-ground pool. So step one is to measure up. Find out the size of your garden. So for this, you just need a tape measure and a pen, and you can get out there and start measuring your space. I used a laser pointer and a kind of surveyor's tape measure to make things a little bit quicker, but a normal tape measure will do. Once you've measured up, you can draw your garden on some paper. This is my garden, and this is the drawing that I did. It's 16.5 meters in length by 13 meters wide. The garden is fairly flat. It doesn't drain that well, and the house is slightly raised, and there's about a 2-foot drop between the back of the house and the lawn area. But there is a conservatory currently in the back of the house that was built on the old patio. I'm probably going to restore the original patio and remove the conservatory. So for this I made a small pool about 6.5 or 6 meters long, and I just moved it around the graph paper to see where the pool could go. For the purpose of this video, I've sketched out my garden on a free piece of software called Blender, which will enable me to visualize or easily visualize the space, my garden in 3D, so I can show you my thoughts behind why I'm going to position the pool where I'm thinking of putting it. I'll leave a link in the description to Blender so that you can download it and have a play around, do some tutorials and try using that software yourself. You can use paper or design software, it's up to you. Once it's all measured up, we can move on to the next step. So for me, the next step was design. I wanted to know the size, the shape of the pool, and where it should be positioned within the garden. But before we go into the detail of the design, my primary requirement is that it needs to be safe. I've got 2 kids, so safety is absolutely paramount. So a lot of the decisions about where I'll place the pool, etc., will be based around safety. Pool size. A lot of the pools in the UK tend to be around 8 meters by 4 meters in size, going up to about 11 by 5. I would like something potentially a bit smaller than that. I might go with something around 6.5 by 3.5. I want it to be small enough to keep heated and keep clean for a small-ish budget per month, but large enough to be able to do some swimming, maybe on a swim tether, and play games like volleyball, basketball, things like that. With regards to pool shape, there's lots of different shapes out there, from kidney shape, square, U shape, L shape. However, keeping things simple will be advantageous for many reasons. I'll be going with a rectangle because it's possibly going to be easier and cheaper to build. It's going to be easier and cheaper to cover. It's going to be better for swimming and playing games, but all of that is just my subjective opinion. So very briefly, after going through all of that, I'm going to make the pool 6.5 meters long by 3.5 meters wide by 1.4 meters constant depth, possibly with some steps in the corner in the pool to easily get in and out. It's not huge, but it's going to be big enough for our needs. Pool location. Where do you want the pool to be? Our last pool was just off the patio area, the first one I built. I kind of liked it there. It was quite nice to be close to the people on the patio, the other side of the fence. The other option would have been to have put it kind of in the middle of the garden or right at the end of the garden. I want to maintain quite a nice lawn space as well as the pool space, so probably going to position the pool near to the patio, near to the house, a bit like last time. My new garden faces south-southeast, so it does get sun for most of the day. If it was north-facing garden, I probably would have considered placing the pool near the end of the garden so it gets sun most of the day and doesn't get shadowed by the house. However, I do have the opportunity to place the pool in most of the garden to get the benefit of the solar sun rays on the pool to heat the water. After taking this safety kind of issues into account and the sun, and how we like to use the pool, so have it a bit near to the barbecue and the patio and things like that, I've decided to place the pool just behind the house off the patio at the same height as the patio. So the pool is going to be positioned at the same height as the patio with a couple of walls that may be slightly raised out of the lawn, which technically makes it a semi in-ground pool, I guess. I'll also be installing a safety cover and some balustrade or fencing with a lockable gate around the pool to prevent unauthorised access. So once I've decided where to place the pool, I'm going to decide what it needs to be made from. There's lots of different construction methods that you can use to build an in-ground pool. The last pool that I did was a concrete block pool with reinforced concrete with steel inside the blocks. And this took a little while to build, and also it wasn't great for retaining heat, but it was a fairly cheap method to do it, comparatively. The other method that I'm considering this time is ICF, which stands for Insulated Concrete Forms, and these are basically big giant Lego blocks that you can piece together in a day and then fill with steel and concrete to give yourself a nice insulated shell. It costs a bit more to build a pool out of ICF, but the savings may pay off with the reduction in heating costs. If you're interested in the concrete block method, the last video that I made, which you can see is just here, was just using standard 8-inch hollow concrete blocks filled with concrete and steel, and I use a 2-part epoxy paint to paint the surface of the pool as well. The next factor to consider is cost or budget. The last pool was 5 metres by 3 metres by 1.4 metres, and that cost around about £5,000. This pool's going to be a bit bigger, and it's going to be built with ICF, which is going to cost a bit more than £5,000. However, I'm hoping that the initial higher build cost will mean that the cost to heat the pool will be less. I've not spent anything on this yet, so I'll make sure to keep a record of each penny I spend so that we can tally it up at the end. So back to the design that I'm going to go with. This does mean that the conservatory has to go so the pool can go next to the patio. The conservatory takes a lot of light from the house anyway, so it's got to go. Now that the conservatory is gone, we can mark out the area for excavation and start digging. So yeah, this is the final design, and in the next video, hopefully, we'll have some diggers in the garden driving around, digging a big hole. So subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a digger driving around the garden. See you in the next video.